There are around 20 living hostages in Gaza. Hamas says it's willing to release the hostages and transition Gaza's government to other Palestinians.
Fox's Rich Edson. The Senate plans to try again Monday to pass a bill to end the partial government shutdown. Republicans keep repeating that Democrats want to give illegal migrants health care, but Democrats say that is a lie. GOP House Majority Whip Tom Emmer on Fox News.
Literally holding the American people hostage in order to get $1.5 trillion in additional spending and literally to put illegals back on our taxpayer-funded health care. Look, this is going to have real-life consequences in my state and all across this country. That's what I'm worried about.
And Democrats want to roll back the health care section of the One Big Beautiful Bill as part of the spending bill. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker says the Trump administration plans to federalize 300 members of the Illinois National Guard. He did not say where that they're going to be deployed, but that the Guard received word from the Pentagon this morning. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
A federal judge sentenced
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
An altercation and lots of cops. I'm Ryan Hedrick, and here's what's trending this hour. That's what happened in downtown Indianapolis early Saturday morning as a former NFL quarterback was stabbed. John Herrick with the details.
Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez was in Indianapolis because he was scheduled to be an analyst on the Fox Sports TV broadcast of Sunday's game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts. Investigators believe Sanchez was stabbed on Washington Street and taken to a hospital while another man involved ended up with cuts on his body. Fox Sports says that they are deeply grateful to the medical team for their exceptional care, and they say they're praying for Sanchez. Reporting in downtown Indianapolis, John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The ACLU of Indiana is suing Indiana State University for cutting funding for the Pride Center of Terre Haute, which provided testing and support for the LGBTQ plus people. Funding from federal work study and a university grant program was abruptly cut after ISU cited federal guidance cautioning against funding positions based on protected characteristics. The Pride Center argues it does not discriminate. A Greenwood man sentenced on Friday for a sex crime. Jake McDaniel with the report.
Rape and child exploitation are the charges Jeremy Blaker is facing. He was sentenced to a total of 40 years.
This individual was in a position of trust. It's not just inexcusable, it's horrific.
I'm Ryan Hedrick on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now your forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly clear. Low temperatures in the lower 60s. And for Sunday, another warm one. High temperatures in the mid-80s under mostly sunny skies. Spotty afternoon and evening showers are possible on Monday. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
My brother never checks on Dad. Or, my sister won't make time to take Mom to the doctor. Are these things you've heard yourself say? This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joy's House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I have a caregiving tip for you. Stay tuned.
Cardon & Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Visit cardon.us to find a community near you.
Expressing anger or resentment toward unsupportive siblings can cause unmendable rifts in relationships. Don't try to control everyone else. You can only control yourself. The success of your caregiving journey does not rest on others. So enjoy the time with your loved one. This is your special time with them. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joyce House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access a library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
It's JMV. Save 50% on pottery and herbaceous perennials, along with 40% savings on in-stock patio furniture at Miss M's Home and Garden on State Road 135 in Burgersville.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Thrilled you're with us. And hey, right off the bat, if you're looking for something to do to raise money for a political candidate that I'm excited about, and you'd like to go out maybe and bust some sporting clays in the process, Michelle Davis, and you may know that name. I've supported her and a couple of other fundraisers, actually taught a whole bunch of people over 3 years now. Taught some people some pistol lessons, and then this most recent time we had a rifle lesson. This was all part of a fundraiser, so that was kind of cool, something completely Second Amendment related. But she's now running for Senate and Senate District 41. And while I'll hate to lose her in the House of Representatives where she is now, I'm excited about her moving over to the Senate, and that's primarily because of who. If she's elected, she'd be replacing Senator Greg Walker from Columbus is the incumbent. He's announced he's not seeking re-election. But Greg Walker is a quote-unquote Republican, but was one of a handful of Republicans who actually voted against us on constitutional carry back in 2022. And he hasn't been in my favor, certainly since then, and as several other Senate Republicans have not, for exactly the same reason. But to replace Greg Walker in that Senate seat, again, there's only 50 of these folks in the whole state, and they have a supermajority, obviously, of Republicans, but we need real Republicans. And in my view, given my political focus, we need real Republicans that will advocate for and support our Second Amendment rights. That was not Greg Walker. It is Michelle Davis. And for that reason, I've been supporting her. I went to her announcement here a few weeks ago, which I think I talked about here on the show. But if you're interested in shooting some sporting clays, you can sign up. They're going to have a tournament out at Indiana Gun Club. That's my home club. It's where I like to shoot. And we just had a fundraiser out there for Salvation Army a couple of weeks ago, and I'm happy to report my team won that, by the way. I was not the high scorer on my team, I have to admit, but we did win that by a somewhat substantial margin. But Michelle has just a few teams and individual participant spots available, and if you'd like to sign up for this. It's the 16th, which is a Thursday. It's in the afternoon, noon to 3, primarily. Lunch is going to be included. But I have posted the link on my Twitter, just at Guy Relford, Twitter X, as we're now calling it. I've posted the link. I've also put it on my Facebook, at Guy Relford as well. If you want to go find it, it's secure.winred. WinRed as in Win Republican, secure.winred.com, and then Friends of Michelle Davis /Clays, and you got to hyphenate Friends of Michelle Davis /Clays, and that'll take you right to it. If you want to go a little easier, you can just go to Twitter or X, or Facebook. Find me on there, and I just posted those links. You can click right on them and go from there. It gives you an opportunity to sign up, whether for a team of 4 or as an individual. You can do either. If you sign up as an individual, they will get you on a team. I'm going to be out there. I'm trying to arrange my schedule. I've got a trial coming up just a couple days from then, so I'm not sure I could spend the whole time shooting. But if my case gets continued, or I'm otherwise able to free up the time, then I'm going to absolutely shoot the tournament. I'd be excited to do it. And it'd be fun to meet some of our listeners out there and shake some hands. If you go to Twitter, by the way, give me a follow while you're on there. I would appreciate that much. So in the Second Amendment realm, the Supreme Court has just announced that it's taking a Second Amendment case. And they haven't taken one of these in a while. And They took Bruen back in, I think it was 2022. Then they took Rahimi. And those were important cases. Bruen was huge. I just talked about this last week. I won't repeat that discussion. But it was huge in that it created the new test. It defined the test for determining whether a law, whether it's a state law or federal law, is constitutional under the Second Amendment. And it threw out this ridiculous balancing test that we've been looking at for quite some time, that talked about, well, a little bit of infringement is okay. We're going to balance that against whatever compelling state interest is being furthered by the statute in question. And so it forgave infringement of a constitutional right based on some kind of bizarre balancing. And courts that were inclined to do so, all they had to do was say, well, the compelling state interest is keeping people safe. And oh my gosh, how important is that? And so these gun control laws are just meant to save lives, and that there can't be a more compelling interest than that. So we're going to forgive and find constitutional whatever level of infringement's involved. And that's how things like assault weapon bans and magazine capacity bans and any number of other gun control laws have been supported in the courts. Below the Supreme Court level, well, finally the Supreme Court in Bruen took that case, and it was dealing with New York State's licensing statutes that required some bureaucrat to exercise discretion on whether you had a sufficient need to get a license. And he said, no, that discretionary system, or a may issue system as it's called, is unconstitutional. And states have been ordered to grant licenses to their people on a shall issue basis, as we have here in Indiana, meaning if you're eligible, you get a license, and there's no discretion involved. Then we had Rahimi, which looked at, these were bad facts, and as a lawyer for a long, long time, I've said for a long time that bad facts make for bad law, and Rahimi were terrible facts, and that Rahimi was a very, very bad guy, was a violent guy, had reportedly, and based on court records, abused several different women, had fired shots or at least in the air after a bystander challenged him for, forcefully shoving a woman into a car while abusing her. And he got a domestic violence order of protection issued against him. And the issue went up to the Supreme Court in the Rahimi case to say, well, the guy hasn't been convicted of a crime. A domestic violence order of protection is issued after a civil process. It's not criminal. And is that constitutional? When you haven't been convicted of any crime, you've just gone through a civil proceeding. And by the way, I'm going to talk about this issue in the context of red flag laws here in just a bit, here yet on the show. But if you can lose a constitutional right, specifically your Second Amendment rights, by losing in a court proceeding, doesn't that by definition mean that you're legally entitled under the 5th and 14th Amendments to due process of law? And if you're entitled to due process, doesn't that include the right to counsel? And if you can't afford counsel, shouldn't the state have to appoint one for you? Because if you're entitled to due process under the constitutional requirements of due process in a state court proceeding, that would be under the 14th Amendment. But if you can't afford a lawyer, you don't get a lawyer. How is that consistent with due process? And I thought that's what the Rahimi case should have focused on, is the due process issues. Instead, they just looked at, well, was there a judicial determination? Did a judge determine that Rahimi was a credible threat to another individual? And if the answer to that is yes, and the answer was yes, then it is consistent with the Second Amendment and consistent with the text, history, and tradition of regulation under the Second Amendment, which is the test defined in the Bruen case. Based on that judicial determination of a person being a credible threat to another person, yes, you can deprive that person of their Second Amendment rights. And by the way, while that's in the context of a domestic violence order of protection, to the extent that a red flag case does the same thing, that is, there's a judicial determination that a person is a danger to themselves or others, a credible threat to themselves or others, the Supreme Court would say that's constitutional. Does that mean you agree with that? Does that mean I agree with that? No, it's what the court ruled, and that's the law we have to live under. You know, I see a lot of people on social media, people comment on when I post about different judicial rulings. I have people come on there and say, well, all gun laws are unconstitutional and red flag laws are unconstitutional, and they start lecturing me on it. Well, I'm the lawyer who argued before the Indiana Court of Appeals and tried to take it to the Supreme Court that our red flag law is unconstitutional. Court of Appeals disagreed with me in a 2-1 decision. The Supreme Court didn't want to take it. So nobody needs to lecture me, but I can also tell you what the state of the law is. Whether I agree with it, whether you agree with it, or whether we're happy about it are separate issues. But the state of the law is that of the, I believe it's 18 states now, maybe 19, that have red flag laws, not one of them has been found to be unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. Not one. And has it been challenged? Yes. And then have any petitioners won on that? No. Again, I'm not arguing in favor of red flag laws. I'm telling you what the state of the law is and the state of judicial determinations. But so those were the two most recent Supreme Court cases, Bruen and Rahimi. And that kind of defines the landscape for us a little bit. What a lot of states did, New York did it in direct response because the Bruen case was about New York's licensing laws. So what New York did, and also what Hawaii did, and what several other states did, California's done a bunch of this, is they took language out of the Bruen decision that said, yes, there is a constitutionally protected right to carry a handgun in public. And then the court added some language to that, and they said, however, we're not saying that it is unconstitutional for states to limit the carrying of handguns into sensitive areas like schools where there's an interest in keeping guns out of those places. So yes, you have a general right to carry a handgun in public, but states can still keep guns out of quote-unquote sensitive places. They didn't really give us a good definition, a workable definition of sensitive places. So what did New York do? What did Hawaii do? They basically defined every damn place as a sensitive area where you can't carry guns. And Hawaii went a step further, and this is the law that now is going to be examined in a case called Wolford versus Lopez. It's Wolford. If I slur that just right, it kind of sounds like Relford. But Wolford versus Lopez is going up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court just accepted certiorari, meaning they're taking the case just Thursday or Friday. And what they're going to look at is Hawaii's law that takes this sensitive places business a step further and says that any kind of business, property owner, it's privately owned, unless the owner of the property has explicitly given you permission to carry a gun there, it's illegal to carry a gun there. So a cop sees you with a gun in the grocery store. Cop comes over and says, excuse me, I need to see your permission, your express permission from the grocery store owner to have a gun in here. And if you can't produce that, you go to jail. So it requires explicit approval. It's not where the owner has specifically prohibited guns. Several other states have had laws like that for a while. Texas. People talk about how pro-gun Texas is all the time. I laugh about that a little bit, and if you listen to the Gun Guy show, you've heard me say it before. Texas has a lot of restrictions on gun rights that we don't have here in Indiana. I would not swap our laws with Texas's any day of the week. But Texas has a law that if a business owner puts a particular sign up at the entrance, And the sign is prescribed by statute. And it says, notice, firearms are prohibited on these property pursuant to Texas Code da-da-da-da. And anyone found in possession of a gun on these premises is subject to immediate arrest and prosecution. I'm paraphrasing, that's generally what it says. And you can go to jail for that if you violate that sign. That's what's different than Indiana. Indiana, I have kind of a hobby of violating no gun signs. Business puts a sign up, says no guns allowed. Oh, look at that. And say, well, thank you. No, thank you. And if I have a compelling need to go there or desire to go there, I'll go there. I'll just make sure my gun's concealed. Because I'm not breaking a law if I ignore that sign. It's exactly what happened with Eli Dickin in the Greenwood Park Mall. And we had some idiots in the national media, including that Sonny Hostin moron on The View, came out and said, well, I don't know what anybody is celebrating. He was illegally in the mall with a gun because it was a no-gun zone, no gun-free zone. No, it was not illegal. Shannon Watts, who founded Moms Demand Action. She founded it, by the way, as Million Moms for Gun Control. But when they were about $980,000 shy of $1 million on people who would even like their Facebook page, they got ridiculed so harshly they decided to change the name to Moms Demand Action because they didn't have anywhere close to 1 million people. They were trying to pattern it after the Million Moms March, I'm sure, which was pretty questionable in terms of numbers as well. But the bottom line with the Greenwood Park Mall shooting is that Eli Dickin, my friend and client, did not break any law by ignoring the sign. Well, that's where the problem with Hawaii's law comes in, because you actually need express permission. How do we see that? How do I see this unfolding? Where do I think this is going to go? That's what we'll talk about when we come back. Join the discussion. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. If you're on YouTube, I haven't looked at it yet. I just opened it up, but you can go to the chat feature and participate in a discussion there. We've always got some knowledgeable people sharing information on the chat feature on YouTube. You can see the show air also on video if you're so inclined. But right now we're taking a break. Join the discussion. Give us a call here at the studio. Producer Jack will get you right on the air, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
So the American dream costs how much?
$5 million.
Well, I'm out.
Not currently, but over your lifetime, average lifetime earnings is 2.8. So the cost of the American dream is out of reach.
Okay, so here's the news, and then the bad news is you're not going to get it.
Right,
oh,
exactly.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Casey.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up now just 2 weeks from today, Saturday, October 18th. It's going to be at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range there in Avon. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. It's 5 hours, 9 to 2, 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. And you can sign up right online. Just go to tactical-firearms.com. By the way, you're interested in a private firearms course? You can do that right there on the same page. Go to tactical-firearms.com. Click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
We still have plenty of days left to enjoy our backyard spaces. It's Terry Stacy, and thanks to Premier Deck Coating, our deck is protected from the harsh environment fall and winter bring. Harsh because our deck is surrounded by black walnut trees, so nuts have always stained our deck. We just don't have that problem anymore because of Premier Deck Coating. Our 25-year-old deck looks brand new, and it's not. Locally owned Premier Deck Coating is the ultimate deck protection. Their special formulated product repels mold and moisture, scratch resistant, all backed by a 10-year guarantee. Premier Deck Coating takes care of sanding the wood. They repair the damaged boards in preparation before they apply the special formulated coating. They can also do the same for pergolas and fences. You truly will be thrilled with the results. No more painting year after year, easy to take care of, and that saves time and money. Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. There's still time to get you on the schedule before the year ends. For a free quote, visit premierdeckcoating.com.
At Community Health Network MD Anderson Cancer Center,
We're here to support you every way we can. From answering your questions to helping coordinate appointments.
The whole team has been phenomenal there. They've made me feel like I'm a family member. I get hugs every time I go in. It's been such a blessing that the great care I've received has been so close to home.
Learn more about Community MD Anderson at ecommunity.com/cancer.
Attention, Indiana homeowners. Are you tired of avoiding your wet basement? Hi, I'm Mike Smith with Swainco Crawl Space and Basement Repair, your real, local, Indiana family-owned experts. Imagine all the possibilities of a guaranteed dry basement, a cozy new family room, a home gym, or even a new office. And with no interest, no payment financing, you don't have to break the bank to do it. Make the most of your basement today. Call Swainco 317-407-1868 or SwaincoLLC.com.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Fostech is American-made firearms made right here in Indiana. American craftsmanship meets cutting-edge innovation. Their lightweight AR-15s are incredible, and they don't sacrifice dependability or durability. Advanced machining capabilities create incredible products, and they are all designed, machined, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. Fostech, owned by a family that has served and loved their country. Find a dealer near you or visit Fostech.com. That's F-O-S-T-E-C-H, Fostech.com. Use promo code WIBC for 10% off your order.
At Price Point Comfort, we're proud to serve our local community. We're not just your service provider, but we're your neighbors.
For heating and cooling help, go to PricePointComfort.com. Price Point Comfort is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air dealer.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Tell you, we've had Brian call in, so let's go to the phone lines. And Brian, welcome to The Gun Guy Show.
Hi. I've heard you talk before about being able to, or maybe being able to take certain felonies and being able to get it to where you can get a license.
Yeah, we call that expungement most of the time. And for some felonies, we can seal it off your record. And for several more, it remains a public record, but we can restore your gun rights. So, yeah, absolutely. Do you have a question about that?
Yes, I do. I have a Class C felony for child molest from 1989. That's the only thing I've ever had on my record.
Okay, and I'm sorry, did you say child molest?
Yes.
Okay. And listen, unfortunately, as I mentioned, there are several classes of crimes that cannot be expunged. One of those is a whole series of sex-related crimes that fall within a particular chapter. And right in the expungement statute, it says, this does not apply to, and then it lists a bunch of different chapters of criminal offenses. And one of those is a long section that contains various subsections of different crimes. And if you'd want to call the office, I can look it up and confirm it, because there are some low-level things, I think it's like some voyeurism type stuff and whatnot, that where that doesn't apply. But the more significant things, and if I had to guess, and I've even just looked at this recently, what we're talking about here, Brian, we would not be able to expunge. But if you want to call the office during the week, I can look up your record, see exactly what the specific offense was, and look at whether that's in the chapter that I'm talking about here. But there are certain things like official misconduct. You know, if you're a political electee or you hold a political office and take a bribe, you get convicted of that, you can't expunge that. Several categories of crimes, including any crime that resulted in a serious bodily injury. Get this, you can expunge it. It has to be 10 years, where normally it's 8 for most other felonies. It has to be 10 years since the date of your conviction, and you have to have prior written approval from the prosecutor in the county where the conviction occurred that approves, from the prosecutor's perspective, agrees with that expungement on the front end, and the judge will not even consider it without prior written permission. That's just for any felony that resulted in serious bodily injury. And I actually, believe it or not, I think the legislature was pretty smart in how they wrote that, in the sense that, and I had nothing to do with it when they wrote it, but it would be very easy, and I'm sure the law in other states, in several other states, reads that if you're convicted of a crime that involves serious bodily injury to another person, you can't expunge that at all. And I like the idea that it's a high bar, and it's damn rare that prosecutors are going to agree to it. But I had one, just by way of example, that a guy was convicted of an OWI causing serious bodily injury. And the person, and obviously right away, that sounds bad, right? And it is bad, and I don't minimize that in any way, shape, or form. But the way it turned out is the person was just barely over the 0.08. I mean, literally like right at 0.08 or 0.09. And the accident was actually caused by the other driver. In other words, you know, you couldn't point to the drunk driving that says that caused him to make an error driving, which is what caused the wreck, which resulted in the injury, the serious injury to the other person. Is the person didn't make any mistakes driving. And listen, I don't handle OWI cases, so I'm far from an authority on this, but if you're intoxicated and you're in a wreck and somebody gets hurt, prosecutor does not bear the burden of proving that the wreck was your fault. That may be relevant to a civil case where people are suing each other over injuries or damage to vehicles or whatever else. But the way the law reads, one, you're operating a motor vehicle, and secondly, your operation while intoxicated resulted in an accident. Simply meaning if you weren't in your car on the road, the accident wouldn't have happened with you in it. And there may be some OWI lawyers, again, the statute's called operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated. So a lot of lawyers call it OWI instead of DUI, obviously standing for driving while intoxicated. That's not the way the statute reads in Indiana. That's the reason you hear different acronyms. But there may be an OWI lawyer out there that'll call and correct me, but that's the way I've always understood it. So in that circumstance where the wreck was not my client's fault, and this is like 15 years ago, quit drinking on the spot, actually had to serve some time, had since done great things with his life, contributing member of society, and was just barely over that limit, so that it was a tragedy for everybody involved. The prosecutor's office, a county way up in northern Indiana, agreed with it and said, you know, I think the person, after all this time, given what else they've done in their lives, and I wrote this great, big, long, it was almost a brief, it was a letter explaining, you know, all the good things this guy had done with his life and how he turned things around, and he had sincere remorse over what had happened and was now helping other people in a lot of different ways in his community, and they agreed to it. So anyway, that's a much longer answer than Brian was looking for. But no, there are broad categories of convictions, felonies that cannot be expunged, and unfortunately it sounds like Brian's conviction falls within one of those. And you can understand the legislature's thinking on that. Although, again, I've also heard some stories where they create some sympathy for the person who was convicted, because are a lot of these people absolute predators who deserve much harsher penalties than what they end up getting, absolutely 100%. There are also some kind of questionable cases in my mind. I don't handle those cases, but where, you've got, I just looked at one for somebody where a kid was 19 and the girl was 16, and as I recall, and still got prosecuted. It's all consensual, et cetera, et cetera. So you can understand, even with some of those, why there ought to be perhaps an exception. But depending on the actual conviction and what it was, then no, expungement's not available. I'll tell you what, we're past the bottom of the hour. Let's take a break here. We come back, and we've got more folks on the switchboard. So we'll go to the phones here when we come back. Give us a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
It's another week of this.
There's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement.
And another day for this.
Water rose 28 foot in 45 minutes.
Plus, another possibility of this.
Monitor the weather condition, the National Weather Service.
That's why another update is just minutes away.
Start saying we're not taking this anymore.
Just another day.
Not with all this happening.
Every day.
Happening now.
93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
20 ribeyes for $35. That's 20 ribeyes for $35 at 2 locations in Indianapolis going on now. 20 ribeyes for only $35 in the Hardee's parking lot near Walmart at West 86th Street and Michigan Road. Just look for the big truck. Also in the Hardee's lot at the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike. Also on the big truck is cases of T-bones, fillets, New York strips, burgers, and a whole lot more. Big truck sale. Marinated chicken breasts too. Don't wait. Big steak sale at 2 different locations. In the Hardee's parking lot near Walmart at West 86th Street and Michigan Road. Also in the Hardee's lot at the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike. 20 ribeyes for just $35. Don't wait. Everything must go. Big truck sale. That's 20 ribeyes for $35. West 86th Street and Michigan Road. And the second location in the Hardee's parking lot at the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike. Get there before the truck is gone.
Our electric bills have increased as much as $50 each month. Governor Mike Braun is driving bills even higher. Instead of helping families, Governor Braun is doubling down on costly coal, gas, and nuclear. That means more pricey power plants that Hoosiers like us have to pay for. Utilities get richer, we pay more. Something has to give. Go to StopMikesHikes.com today to send Governor Braun a message. Hoosiers need affordable energy, not a blank check for greedy utilities. Paid for by Citizens Action Coalition.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
There's one name for every home system, Chapman. Heating, air conditioning, plumbing, drains, electrical, and now proudly serving Bloomington. Remember the man for all seasons, and now more reasons. Chapman. ChapmanHeating.com.
This hour powered by Price Point Comfort Heating and Cooling, your independent American Standard Air dealer.
Fox News, I'm Angelo Bavaro. President Trump is keeping up the pressure on Hamas with the Gaza peace deal on the line.
The president posted, quote, I appreciate that Israel has temporarily stopped the bombing in order to give the hostage release and peace deal a chance to be completed. Hamas must move quickly or else all bets will be off.
That is Fox's Rich Edson. President Trump also posting on Truth Social that Israel has agreed to an initial withdrawal line. He says once Hamas confirms, that ceasefire will be immediately effective and hostage and prisoner exchanges will begin. President Trump plans to deploy hundreds of National Guard troops in Illinois. That's according to Governor J.B. Pritzker. No word yet on when or where those troops would be deployed. The Trump administration, though, has been eyeing Chicago. America is listening to Fox News.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling will pay you cash for your scrap metal.
Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling may seem familiar to you, and that's because they are. They're trusted local family-owned businesses going back 3 generations in Indy with their familiar orange logo and a name you know. But you may not know they'll pay you cash for your scrap metal. Cash is king. Your scrap aluminum, steel, copper, and brass will get you cash from Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Just drop it off or schedule a pickup, and you'll put cash in your pocket. Ray's Demolition and Farnsworth Metal Recycling. Local names you can trust with 2 locations.
Farnsworth Metal Recycling, a familiar face in Indy.
Get cash for your scrap. Get started at farnsworthmetals.com.
From the moment our eyes met, I knew it was love at first sight. She had such a playful sense of humor. And when I look in that sparkle in her eyes, I just melt. My folks always said to find the girl I can't live without. And my heart says she's the one. So I'm going to Pierce Jewelers in Carmel for that perfect diamond engagement ring. Nothing says I love you more than an engagement ring from Pierce Jewelers. She pierced my heart. Now I'm going to pierce hers. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
Let's go!
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So as I mentioned, we've got Gene on the phone. So let's go back to the phone lines. And Gene, welcome to The Gun Guy Show.
Good afternoon, Mr. Relford. How are you?
Good, sir. You doing all right?
Oh, not too bad. Hey, I was talking to you about a new firearm for police officers. You made some really good points.
On Twitter, yeah, I no pun intended, I kind of shot you down there a little bit.
No, you're all right.
But yeah, and Gene, for folks who don't follow me or you on Twitter, Gene had come up with an idea that essentially thinking that tasers that police deploy fairly often, sometimes they're ineffective. So Gene came up.
Often they're ineffective, it seems like, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen them be very effective and very quickly.
Well,
yeah. But it was the idea of a new gauge of shotgun, an 11 gauge, where it'd be an over and under, and you'd have a rubber bullet in one chamber and a beanbag round in another chamber, and a shorter barrel that could be carried on body like a taser. And Gene wanted to know what I thought, and I kind of shot him down a little bit. That the problems I had, Gene, first of all, it was a 5-inch barrel with an 11 gauge, so you're talking about bigger than a 12 gauge. The way gauges work, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a monster to shoot, and with a 5-inch barrel, it's going to break your wrist, going to put out a fireball, and it's not going to have enough powder burn to generate much velocity. And you've already got a less lethal round like a rubber bullet or a beanbag, and
very good point.
And it's not, plus. There are standoff distances. I've had a case specifically involving a standoff distance where a beanbag shotgun, and this is a full-length shotgun that a police officer used, and one of the biggest issues in the case was that he shot someone from inside the standoff distance, according to the prosecution, which was excessive force, according to the prosecution. I was defending the police officer because the manufacturer said, whatever you do, don't shoot anybody closer than 25 feet with this beanbag round, and he was well within that. So when you're using a taser, Gene, you're typically, hands-on or close to it, or somebody's fleeing or resisting, but they're still, a couple of arm lengths away. That's when tasers get used a lot. And I'm sure rubber bullets, by the way, have standoff distances too. I've not investigated that as thoroughly. So you couldn't even use it up close to somebody, which kind of, with a 5-inch barrel now, you suddenly have a gun with no application. So anyway, I didn't mean to be negative. I just saw more minuses than pluses.
I get it. I'm glad you came up with them. I escaped without them. Hey, I am also a customer from you, you did some expungements from me.
Oh, cool.
And I'd just like to tell everybody that it was so easy to do. I Twittered you. You said, hey, call me. I called you on my way home from work. Handled all my business over the internet.
Yeah.
Never met you in my life. I still have never met you.
We got your record expunged, though, didn't we?
In 3 counties.
Yeah.
In 3 counties. I was a little wild when I was young and not really intelligent.
Oh, you know, Gene, a lot of us were wild when we were young. It's just some of us got caught more than others. So I'm with you. But thank you for the kind words. I did not pay Gene, by the way, to call in with that. But that's a good example of where you know, people got into some things a long, long time ago. They now regret. They've now changed their life. They've turned their life around. And that's what the expungement's all about. A lot of people call the expungement statute the second second chance statute. And that's exactly how I look at it. But, you know, the law says specifically here in Indiana, you know, you made some mistakes back when. You've had a clean record now for at least 8 years for most felony convictions. And a lot of misdemeanors, it's 5 years. And you're otherwise eligible, you paid all your fines, fees, court costs, you got a clean record for the last X number of years, then, hey, let's wipe that off your record and let's restore your constitutional rights. That's why I always say I enjoy doing them because I really do. Well, hey, I haven't given you my prediction on what I think is going to happen on this Hawaii case that's now talking about Wolford versus Lopez. It's been accepted by the Supreme Court. We'll get into that and wrap up hour number 1 here of the Gun Guy Show. I'll tell you, we've had great callers so far, so give us a call, join the discussion, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393, or jump on YouTube, participate in the chat there as well. In the meantime, we'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
America has a new favorite beer. It's Mick Ultra. If you remember, Modelo was the #1 beer in America. They're blaming Trump. The Trump administration's immigration policies have affected its sales. Come on.
At least Cracker Barrel came out and said, hey, we screwed up. We're going to go back to the way things were. Bud Light never did.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the Law Office of Guy Relford. You know, you heard our caller Gene talk about this, and I've talked about it in other contexts. But expungement is available for a lot of folks that can restore gun rights. If that's something you're interested in, really the way to contact the office is through the website. It's just relfordlaw.com. relfordlaw.com. You can send us an email right through the website, or the phone number's right there. You can call us during the week, and we'd love to chat with you about that. I have to be out of the office a lot. I'm in court. I'm in meetings, I'm in depositions. So if you miss me, leave a message, or better yet, send me an email, because I always get those through the website, which is just relfordlaw.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Retirement isn't just about reaching the finish line, it's about knowing how to play the next movement. Without a plan, your savings can feel like noise instead of music. I'm Jason Hutchins with Guardian Wells Financial. I've seen too many families head into retirement without the guidance they need. That's why I wrote Orchestrate Your Retirement, a guide to composing a financially tuned plan. I'd like to mail you a copy at no cost. Call 317-660-0929. That's 660-0929. Inside this book, you'll find real-world strategies on turning savings into income, making smarter Social Security decisions, and reducing a bite of taxes in retirement. Call 317-660-0929. That's 660-0929 for your book today. Don't wait. Supplies are limited, and when they're gone, they are gone. Orchestrate your retirement. Discover the rhythm of a confident future.
Investment advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. Guardian Wells Financial is not affiliated with Creative One Wealth or with any government agency. Licensed insurance professionals.
Call 317-660-0929.
Everyone knows that PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is the place to get one-of-a-kind jewelry pieces. Diamonds, gold, gemstones, watches, everything. But PA Jewelers at the farmhouse is also the place to sell your jewelry, your watches, your coins, or bullion. PA Jewelers has the best prices and the best payouts. And they walk you through the process so you know what your pieces are worth and what you're getting. PA Jewelers at the farmhouse, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg, or online at pajewelers.jewelry. That's pajewelers.jewelry.
It's JMV. The fall season continues at Miss M's Home and Garden. Visit Johnson County's premier garden center for a large selection of locally grown mums, pumpkins, gourds, and fall decor. Now is a great time to shop and save. Happening now at Miss M's. Save 50% on pottery and herbaceous perennials, along with 40% savings on in-stock patio furniture. Don't forget, they also have a selection of trees and shrubs up to 50% off. Miss M's Home and Garden, located on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Game day starts here with the Colts Ultimate Tailgate at the Slippery Noodle this Sunday, kicking off at 9:30 a.m. We're bringing the party with ice-cold drinks, tailgate games, prizes, and all the pre-kickoff buzz. It's Indy's biggest Sunday celebration.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIPC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So I have a lot of confidence in what the Supreme Court is going to do with this Wohlford v. Lopez case that they just accepted certiorari on. Now, look, that's not going to come anytime soon. The way that works is there's briefing, there's scheduling of oral argument, there's then a long delay period while a justice is writing an opinion. Sometimes they can sort of punt on a case in the sense that they don't rule on the merits. They can find something that needs to be addressed at a lower court or kick it back to the lower court for some finding that's necessary for the Supreme Court to issue a substantive ruling, but usually not. And if they're going to do that, they typically don't accept certiorari to begin with. So it can happen. But I'm expecting a substantive ruling on the merits on this one, and I think it's going to be a win for 2A. I think it's going to be a huge win in Hawaii because, again, what they're doing is they're nominally following the ruling in the Bruin decision, but doing it kicking and screaming and doing everything they can to completely gut any real meaning and effect of that Bruin decision in Hawaii. In other words, if you have a fundamental right to carry a handgun in public, as the Bruin decision says you do, but any place you're going to go in public cannot include any privately owned property unless you've got, a letter in your pocket from the property owner saying it's okay? I mean, maybe if you have a favorite restaurant or bar or little local shop and you know the owner and you can get that express permission that's required by the Hawaii statute, then okay as to those places. But hey, don't go anywhere else because you're looking at going to jail. It completely guts the right that the Supreme Court says you have to carry a gun in public. And that's obvious, but that's what most of the states that had may issue systems. I'm talking about New York, California, New Jersey, I believe Washington and Oregon, Hawaii, certainly. They're using this language. And that's why the Supreme Court justices, when they write opinions, when their clerks write drafts and the justices finalize them, they have to be just so damn careful about any explanation or any exception that they throw in there. Because lower courts who are predisposed to ignore the ruling of the Supreme Court or to circumvent it in any way possible will seize on any language like that. And again, the fact that the court said, well, we're not saying that there's a right to carry everywhere because states can prohibit firearms in certain sensitive places like schools. Okay. By finding there's a constitutional right to carry a handgun in public is not overturning the Gun-Free School Zones Act. And they wanted to say that. Okay, makes sense. But they didn't give any guidance on what exactly constitutes a sensitive area where a state may ban firearms. And it just gave one example, if I recall the exact language of the decision correctly. And I'll tell you a perfect example of the exact same thing. And that is when the Supreme Court in the Heller case that found for the first time there is an individual right to bear arms, protected by the Second Amendment. Not created, but protected by the Second Amendment. So a couple of things. Justice Scalia said, well, this doesn't mean that everyone has a right to carry any firearm they wish, any gun, anywhere. Also said certain long-standing prohibitions, like saying felons can't possess guns, aren't meant to be overturned. And then they said, and that certain classes of firearms, and then it said, most useful for military service, the M16 and the like. Well, what do you think courts did with that language? They said, well, an AR-15 is kind of like an M16, so there you go. Now it's automatic versus semi-automatic, but no big deal. And that exact language, which I don't think was meant to be particularly impactful by Justice Scalia or the other justices who voted in favor of that ruling, boom, then used to uphold and find constitutional so-called assault weapon bans all over the country. So a little bit of language like that. And then what do we need? Then we need another Supreme Court decision to clarify what they meant with that language. Tell you what, we're coming up on the top of the hour. We're going to take a break here. We'll be back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Comcast Business can help turn your small business into a connected, secure, modern business. It's how retailers become constantly connecting must-visit shops. How restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How healthcare offices become the data-protecting caregivers that we all depend on. And how wealth management firms become cyber-securing guardians of your information. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, and Wi-Fi backup, your business can stay connected and get threat-ready with Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with our reliable business internet. Plus, stay connected when you add Wi-Fi backup for just $35 a month. And ask about a $400 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Call today. Restrictions apply. Wireless Connect requires business internet for additional monthly charge. Taxes and other fees extra. Prepaid card offer ends 11/16/25.
20 ribeyes for $35. That's 20 ribeyes for $35 at 2 locations in Indianapolis going on now. 20 ribeyes for only $35
In the Hardee's parking lot near Walmart at West 86th Street and Michigan Road.
Just look for the big truck.
Also in the Hardee's lot at the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike.
Also on the big truck
is cases of T-bones, fillets, New York strips, burgers, and a whole lot more.
Big truck sale.
Marinated chicken breasts, too.
Don't wait. Big steak sale at 2 different locations.
In the Hardee's parking lot near Walmart at West 86th Street and Michigan Road. Also in the Hardee's lot at the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike.
20 ribeyes for just $35.
Don't wait. Everything must go.
Big truck sale.
That's 20 ribeyes for $35. West 86th Street and Michigan Road. And the second location in the Hardee's parking lot at the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike.
Get there before the truck is gone.
So with all the choices of where you could buy your furniture and mattresses, here's why you should purchase your new Lazy Boy, Smith Brothers or Flex Steel Furniture, Tempur-Pedic, Sealy or Stearns and Foster mattresses, or Berlin Gardens and Pollywood outdoor furniture from Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Unmatched customer service during and after the sale. Have a service issue, they're just one call away. They deliver and set up for free if you live within 75 miles of their store in Columbus. Saves you hundreds. Family owned, worth the very short drive. ThompsonFurniture.net.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News. 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Applying the pressure to get peace. I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox News. President Trump posting on Truth Social that Israel has agreed to an initial withdrawal line in Gaza. And when Hamas confirms a ceasefire will be effective.
President Trump is urging Hamas to follow through and start releasing those hostages. He posted, quote, Hamas must move quickly or else all bets will be off. I will not tolerate delay, which many think will happen, or any outcome where Gaza poses a threat again. Let's get this done fast. Everyone will be treated fairly. The president also says he appreciates that Israel has temporarily stopped bombing Gaza to give the hostage release and peace deal a chance to succeed. Israel says it believes there are around 20 living hostages in Gaza. Hamas says it's willing to release the hostages and transition Gaza's government to other Palestinians.
That is Fox's Rich Edson. Hamas saying Friday it's willing to release hostages and hand over power to other Palestinians. But other parts of that plan require more consultations. The governor of Illinois says the Trump administration plans to federalize 300 members of the National Guard.
Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker says he got an ultimatum from the Pentagon. Call up your troops or we will. The governor issuing a statement saying it is absolutely outrageous and un-American to demand a governor send military troops within our own borders and against our will. Those words coming after several anti-ICE protests in the Chicago suburb of Broadview, where an ICE immigration facility is housed. And Homeland Security says law enforcement patrolling in Broadview were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. They say officers were forced to deploy their weapons and fired shots at an armed U.S. citizen. That citizen was injured. Jill Nato, Fox News.
America is listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Janice Dean, Fox News senior meteorologist and host of the Janice Dean Podcast. Join me every Sunday as I focus on stories of hope and people who are truly rays of sunshine in their community and across the world. Be sure to subscribe to the Janice Dean Podcast at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to spread the sunshine.
America's listening to Fox News. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
This is Jason Chaffetz from the Jason in the House podcast. Join me every Monday to dive deeper into the latest political headlines and chat with remarkable guests to hear their take on American life, politics, and entertainment. And don't forget, there's always somebody doing something stupid somewhere.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcast.com
or wherever you download podcasts.
Must listen to podcasts from Fox News Audio.
Years of prison.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Something you probably didn't expect before the Indianapolis Colts game. I'm Ryan Hedrick, and here's what's trending this hour. Mark Sanchez is a former NFL quarterback who ended up in a hospital in Indianapolis. John Herrick explains how.
Sanchez was stabbed on Washington Street around 12:30 Saturday morning and later rushed to a hospital. Reports from the scene indicate that Sanchez may have been the aggressor against another man, which led to a fight and ultimately the stabbing, but those details are being sorted out. Sanchez was in Indianapolis as an analyst for Fox Sports to be on the broadcast for Sunday's game between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts. Reporting from downtown Indianapolis, John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
In Miami County, one person is dead and two others are in bad shape after a car accident Saturday morning. The person that died is an 89-year-old. Indiana Senator Todd Young says there's just one party to blame for the government shutdown, and it's not his. Jarrett Lewis has the details.
He's calling it a manufactured crisis created by the Democrats.
More importantly, they want to send a message. They want to send a message that they're fighting at a time when they effectively have no power because the American people rejected their platform and their candidates last election.
Young saying that on Bloomberg TV. The shutdown is now heading into a second week. On Friday, Democrats rejected a fourth attempt by the GOP to get back to work. They did not meet on Saturday, and Young is not optimistic they'll get more votes from Democrats for a continuing resolution anytime soon.
And I'm Ryan Hedrick, on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now your forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly clear. Low temperatures in the lower 60s. And for Sunday, another warm one. High temperatures in the mid-80s under mostly sunny skies. Spotty afternoon and evening showers are possible on Monday. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code USA to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code USA to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code USA.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Listen, you heard from the WIBC newsroom, and I will certainly defer to the professionals whose job it is to report news. But there's been an awful lot of commentary on social media, and I posted about this. I reposted a story by Fox 59 early on, and then that got updated, and I reposted this. This is primarily on Facebook, but it involves the stabbing and reportedly now the arrest of Mark Sanchez. And listen, if you don't know who Mark Sanchez is, you probably don't follow football real carefully, but he was a USC quarterback on a really good USC team, and then was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft by the Jets, played there, and then bounced around quite a bit. He still has one of the all-time great blooper, or not top 10 clips that you're ever going to see out there, which notoriously is known as, I believe, I'm 99% sure this is Mark Sanchez, known as the butt fumble, where he's running the ball as quarterback and actually is kind of running bent over pretty low, and because he's stumbling a bit, and then he runs into the back and or the butt of one of his own offensive linemen, which knocks him over backward, and he fumbles the ball, and the other team picks the ball up and runs back for a touchdown, what they call a scoop and score. And so he's got a lot of grief over that. He was in the NFL for a few different teams over, I believe, 10 years. So he was around, but now he works for Fox Sports, and was in town here in Indy to be part of the broadcast team. He does color commentating for Fox for the Colts-Raiders game, Sunday at 1 o'clock. And the first news I saw of this, and I saw it on social media first, is that he was stabbed, and people were speculating that he was a victim, of a robbery downtown Indy. And my first reaction, like a lot of people's, was, oh man, what a black eye for Indianapolis. I mean, downtown obviously has degraded significantly under the Hoxha administration. There's just no question about that. The number of homeless people and the number of unsupervised teenagers, a lot of whom are illegally carrying guns, a lot of whom use those guns and do so right here downtown, and the number of downtown shootings and other attacks we've had in the last number of years, particularly in the last 3 or 4, I think has to some degree gotten out of control. It's one of the reasons a lot of us that come downtown regularly, and I certainly do while I'm here every Monday for Monday Gun Day on Hammer and Nigel, although I can call that in if necessary. We generally do it in the studio, and obviously I'm down here on Saturday late afternoon and evening to do my show. And then I'm going to the new Justice Center I used to, which is down off of Southeastern now, a little away from downtown, but for years and years, for decades, came downtown to go to court in the city-county building. So I'm down here a bunch. I feel like Indianapolis to some degree is my city, even though my office is in Carmel and I live in Zionsville. And because I'm down here all the time. I work down here. I have a job right here on the Circle that I'm doing right now. And so watching the degradation of downtown Indianapolis has just been sad to me. And the number of homeless, crazy people wandering around and relieving themselves on the sidewalks and passed out in doorways and all of that is disconcerting enough. But then the amount of violent crime we've had. Hell, we had one shooting where police estimated, we were just down at 300 South Meridian, I believe police estimated there were 100 shots fired. Remember this? A hotel, I believe it was the Hampton Inn down there, had some bullets go through windows. And there were a whole number of different individuals who were all firing off shots. And that was 3 blocks off Washington Street. 4 blocks from where I'm broadcasting from right now. So anyway, I read this report of Mark Sanchez, who's, a bit of a B-level celebrity, but a celebrity nonetheless, in town to do an NFL game to be broadcast on television, and gets stabbed in downtown Indy. And this was reportedly around 12:30 a.m. Saturday night. Friday night. And it was just outside Low Miller's Pub is what I'm now seeing. And so most people thought this was a robbery, and we thought, oh, my God, what a black eye for Indianapolis. And that was my comment. I didn't offer any substantive analysis of what actually had happened and who was at fault. I just said this is not a good look. I said this is a horrible look for Indianapolis that a guy like that is here visiting and gets stabbed. And not unlike, by the way, when we had a judicial conference, we had an Indiana judges conference here a few years ago. And there were 3 judges, 2 men and a woman, who were out after hours, going to the clubs, having a bunch of cocktails. Well, that's what a lot of people do when they go to conferences out of town, or in town for that matter, depending on where they live. And they end up getting shot. And then lo and behold, it comes out that at least there was more than one side of that story. And there was some evidence, apparently, that they were the aggressors, or at least some of them were, that created the whole circumstance. And now it's coming out that Mark Sanchez, and again, I'll defer to the news department on this, but I'm reading, first of all, I'm listening to what we're reporting here on WIBC, and John Herrick and his newsroom, he's our news director here, they do a fabulous, fabulous job. And that's where we ought to get your news, not from a guy who comments on Second Amendment issues for a living down here at WIBC. But in reading the Fox 59 article that was just updated, is police have now arrested Mark Sanchez. And apparently battery with bodily injury and public intoxication. And apparently everything he's been arrested for is a misdemeanor. And I've not heard a report of the other guy who actually did the stabbing being arrested. And the story that's coming out is the other guy was delivering food, a 69-year-old, which sounds really, really old, except I'm getting ready to turn 68 next month. So 69 doesn't sound as old to me as it used to. But for most people, you think of that as being pretty damn old and not necessarily somebody who's going to go out and get into fights on the sidewalk. But he was delivering food, had parked in an alley, and according to the report I'm reading, Sanchez told him he couldn't park where he was parked. I have no idea why Sanchez would care. Maybe he was in another vehicle and was trying to get through the alley. I have no idea, and I won't speculate. But then, according to the man who was listed as the victim in the original IMPD report, Sanchez pursued him, attacked him, and there was pepper spray used at some point, which was not effective, and the man then pulled a knife, and according to him anyway, and we'll see what facts come out in court, defended himself, and that's what got Mark Sanchez stabbed. But Mark Sanchez now has been placed under arrest. So I just think that's interesting. And I think there are a couple of lessons in this. And again, I didn't draw any conclusions. I didn't form any opinions. In fact, one former follower or friend on Facebook, I was just saying, this is not a good look for Indianapolis, which is, I don't care who was at fault. It's still true. A celebrity comes here and gets stabbed in downtown Indy. That's not a good look. But I offered no opinion on who was at fault, and certainly didn't try to make it sound like I knew all the facts. And somebody said, well, you ought to know all the facts before you offer an opinion. I didn't offer any opinions other than to say it's not a good look for Indianapolis, which is true regardless of fault. But there is a lesson in this, which is one that early reports are always just that. And the faster something appears, and there's so many in the media, the news types, and we're not guilty of this here. Our newsroom, again, I'll brag on them all day long. They are professionals. They do a great job. And they consider being right more important than being first. And that's a balance. That's a struggle that all reporters, TV stations, newspapers, whoever it is, now with social media, boom, you can put something out there for public consumption in milliseconds. And so they're always having to balance those things first, or at least early, versus right, correct, factually accurate. And man, this story, in about an hour, certainly in a couple of hours, went from Mark Sanchez robbery victim to Mark Sanchez aggressor and arrested. Now, again, Mark Sanchez has apparently not made a statement. And I know from having defended a lot of criminal cases over a lot of years that he may be getting legal advice to not give a statement. And he may have a much better story than the other guy did about what actually happened. And where IMPD is just relying on one side of the story, and that's what they're going to use to write up what's called a probable cause affidavit. The prosecutor uses then to actually decide what, if any, charges to be filed. You're getting one side of the story to the extent the other side hasn't made a statement. So there are still more facts to come out. But it's interesting to me, and it could be an interesting example of the application of the law of self-defense here in Indiana. And something I talk about whenever I'm teaching my Indiana gun law class, what we call Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. I spend a lot of time, a couple of hours, on self-defense. And people talk about using a weapon against the quote-unquote unarmed person. Well, so-and-so had a knife, so-and-so was unarmed. Is that definitive? Does that answer the question as to whether you're entitled to use force in self-defense? You'll hear police officers being criticized. Well, police shot an unarmed man. Well, is that dispositive? Does that end the inquiry? Are you done? Well, cop had a gun. Other person did not have a gun. Not justified. No, and no. You have to have a reasonable belief you're preventing, if to use deadly force. And I think stabbing someone, and again, the article I just read said Mark Sanchez was stabbed in the chest. You stab someone in the chest, is that serious? Or excuse me, is that deadly force? Didn't kill him. In fact, I understand he's in stable condition. But if you stab somebody in the chest, is that deadly force, irrespective of whether they die? Oh, hell yeah, it is. Because deadly force is defined in Indiana as force that creates a substantial risk of death or that creates a likelihood of serious bodily injury. Is getting stabbed in the chest serious bodily injury? Yes, and there's a statutory definition for serious bodily injury. And getting stabbed in the chest certainly qualifies. Well, so the delivery driver, according to a one-sided police report anyway, stabbed Mark Sanchez in the chest. And I'm not hearing about any weapons that Sanchez had, although the other person reportedly had facial lacerations. So if the other person has empty hands and you have a knife, are you always guilty? Can you never claim self-defense in that circumstance? No. Hell no. Hell no. It depends on whether you reasonably believe you're preventing serious bodily injury to you or a third person in order to use deadly force in self-defense out on the street like this. Not talking about in your home or some of the other Castle Doctrine applications I talked more about last week. Can someone with empty hands cause serious bodily injury to a 69-year-old guy? Well, hell yes, and it's very circumstance-driven. Who's the 69-year-old? Like I said, I'm getting ready to turn 68, but Mark Sanchez looks like a pretty fit guy. Not sure how that would go. I would probably be a little pessimistic how I'd do, even though I've spent some time training in hand-to-hand and have done a little bit of that here and there. I mean, that much of an age difference, 30 years? 20-some years? Yeah, I'm probably getting my butt kicked. Could he cause serious bodily injury to me as a reasonably fit older guy myself? Yeah, I'm sure he could. So it's not dispositive, but it's going to be an interesting case to watch as it plays out in terms of the application of Indiana's law on self-defense. Because if my current understanding of the facts holds up, yeah, somebody with a knife versus somebody with an empty hands. Can that still be self-defense? Oh, hell, yes, absolutely it can. I've had that case. Won that case, got that case dismissed. But we'll see how that goes. I'll tell you what, I didn't mean to spend that much time talking about that issue, but I just thought it was interesting. And I think people are going to be reading and talking about that for quite some time as the case unfolds. Right now, we're past the quarter hour, so we're going to take a little bit of a break here. It's Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
The problem with the IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, they can avoid giving information that other government agencies have to give away. This is the state taking money from you and giving it away to their buddies.
It does make you question the impact on Indiana taxpayers.
I think the worst part about it is nothing's going to happen to these people and nothing meaningful will come of it.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up 2 weeks from today, Saturday, October 18th. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. It's going to be at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range, located on Kingston Street in Avon. Conveniently located, they've got a nice, big, comfortable classroom, and that's great because this is 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. It's a great place to teach the class. I always enjoy doing it, and we always sell it out, so I wouldn't wait too long. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use, now what?
I had a friend that went to My Computer Career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet, so make a free call to Page Publishing. Turn your book idea into publishing gold.
800-215-6818. 800-215-6818. That's 800-215-6818.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
We put our lives on the line for our country. We braved the unknown.
We did what we were told, and we lit up. Our cigarette packs were as valuable as the packs on our back, maybe more. At one point, cigarettes were part of our daily ration. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And boy, we were smoking 'em. Bumming a smoke was the norm. It was an escape from the reality of dirt, sweat, and forgetting how many days you were so far from home. Never had to worry so long as you had a light, and the smoking lamp was lit. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. And thank you for your service. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
At Price Point Comfort Heating and Cooling, our mission is to provide honest assessments and recommendations. We promise you'll never be sold something you don't need.
PricePointComfort.com. They are your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air dealer.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I'll tell you what, we've still got time here to take some calls. So let's go to, I think it's Penny on the phone lines. Penny, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Okay, well, thanks for calling.
I want to ask a question. My dad passed away years ago. I obtained a bunch of his guns. I probably have close to 50 of his guns.
Uh-huh.
I did bring those all back. He lived in Virginia Beach. I live here in Carmel, Indiana. I did bring those back here. I have them locked up, but I don't have any small kids at my house. It's just me. Do I need to do anything legally with them? Like, do I need to register them? Am I able to, carry the handgun? I do have a, carry handgun lifetime right before they decided we didn't need it in Indiana. I did apply for that and get that.
Uh-huh.
But I was just wondering, do I need to do anything legally as far as take the guns somewhere and have them registered?
Yeah, no, Penny, I can answer that for you. The good news is that we don't have gun registration here in Indiana. And if you're following what's going on in Canada right now, it's a really beautiful example of why we don't ever want registration, why I will fight against it tooth and nail, because on their so-called assault weapons, which include some garden variety pistols and shotguns as well, by the way, as well as semi-automatic rifles, they first decided they were going to ban sale and import. Then they were going to have a registration requirement, and several tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Canadians followed the law and registered their so-called assault weapons. And now what are they having? They're having a mandatory buyback program, which is just what it sounds like. There may or may not be some compensation involved, but you're going to turn them in, and possession of them after that is illegal. So it's confiscation. Make no mistake. So the good news is there is no federal registration of firearms outside of the National Firearms Act, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But that has very limited application. So for your garden variety rifles, pistols, and shotguns, which if I had to guess, that's what we're talking about, that your dad had, that you've inherited, we have no registration in Indiana. And as far as carrying one of the handguns, as long as it's a legal handgun, in other words, it was never stolen, and I'm not suggesting for a minute any of this applies. It doesn't have the serial number filed off of it or something like that. If it's a legal firearm that's lawful for you to possess, and if you have a license to carry a handgun, we already know you've passed the background check to get your lifetime license, so I'm sure you can lawfully possess that firearm. You can carry any handgun you can lawfully possess in Indiana. In some states, they actually tie your concealed carry permit or concealed carry pistol license, or a lot of different names for these things across the country. Ours, as you correctly said, Penny, is the Indiana license to carry handgun. You can carry any handgun that you can lawfully possess, and it's not tied to a particular gun. As I started to say, in some states, it says, okay, no, you've done testing, or you've done training with this particular gun, and passed a qualification course, and so now you can carry that particular gun, and it's make, model, serial number, and you can carry that gun and that gun only, and you can qualify or have more than one gun potentially apply to your license if you want to carry different ones, but they're specific to individual firearms, not in Indiana, and we have no registration for, again, garden variety, non-NFA rifles, pistols, and shotguns. So there's nothing for you to do there. Now, the only thing that, whenever I'm answering this question, people call my office or people come by for a meeting we've scheduled, and they want, they're talking about inheritance and that type thing along the same lines that you are, Penny. And one thing I'll always say is we want to make sure that you don't have any NFA firearms that your dad had. Now, what are we talking about there? We're talking about machine guns. And that's guns that are actually automatic. You pull the trigger and hold the trigger back, and it keeps shooting. Machine gun. Or suppressors, which are actually considered firearms under federal law. And so silencers, quote-unquote, firearm mufflers, suppressors, whatever name you want to use, those are NFA regulated. Short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns. So shotguns with barrels less than 18 inches, rifles with barrels less than 16 inches. Those are regulated by the National Firearms Act of 1934 and have to be registered. And unless they're registered to a trust, they're only registered to an individual, and nobody else can possess those unless that you get the government through the ATF's approval to transfer those from one individual to another. Now, we do a lot of NFA trusts in my office. I'm getting far afield now from your question, but that's to allow multiple, whether it's shooting buddies or family members or whatever anybody wants to do with their trust. You can have several co-trustees that allows multiple people to possess NFA items. But Penny, if I had to guess, you don't have any reason to think he's got any machine guns or suppressors or.
No, but I think I do have 4 AK-47s. Does it sound right?
Yeah, I mean, an AK-47 that's semi-automatic is fine.
Okay.
And if I had to guess, it likely is. A lot of them have selector switches on them where you can see. Now, it may not be in English, but that you have safe, fire, and full, or auto, or something else, and that may be in Chinese or Hungarian or Russian or something else with an AK-47. But no, unless it's actually a machine gun and is fully automatic, that's not something to worry about. So if they're non-NFA regulated, there's no registration and there's nothing for you to do, and you can carry any of those handguns you'd like. So a longer answer again than what our caller was probably looking for, but wanted to be thorough. Let's take a break here at the bottom of the hour. We'll come back. We'll answer any additional calls we get for the rest of our time here on tonight's The Gun Guy Show. Give us a call, 317-239-9393, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Sun's up, the coffee is brewing, and Tony Katz is your morning information barista.
Tony Katz, good to be with you.
Clarity.
We're not interested in having this debate. We're only interested in honestly addressing the issue.
Context.
We should not present this in any other light. The objective is the destruction of Western civilization.
And a little caffeine.
Only the Constitution should rule.
Tony Katz in the Morning News, weekdays 6 till 9 on 93 WIBC.
Bet365 is paying out before the final whistle.
Check out Bet365's unrivaled early payout offer. When you bet on a team to win and they take a 17-point lead, you get paid no matter the final score. Forget the final whistle and start counting that cash. Hold up. You get early payout on parlays, too.
Download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Indiana. T&Cs apply.
Luxury awaits you at Tom Roush Lincoln and Fishers. Come see the full line of breathtaking Lincoln vehicles at Indiana's premier Lincoln dealership. From the moment you arrive at Tom Roush Lincoln, you'll know you've arrived. Shop over 200 new Lincolns in our state-of-the-art family-owned and operated dealership with no pressure. Just the award-winning service and respect you deserve, plus complimentary pickup and delivery for service. Luxury awaits you at Tom Roush Lincoln and Fishers.
Our electric bills have increased as much as $50 each month. Governor Mike Braun is driving bills even higher. Instead of helping families, Governor Braun is doubling down on costly coal, gas, and nuclear. That means more pricey power plants that Hoosiers like us have to pay for. Utilities get richer, we pay more. Something has to give. Go to StopMikesHikes.com today to send Governor Braun a message. Hoosiers need affordable energy, not a blank check for greedy utilities. Paid for by Citizens Action Coalition.
Fostech is the family-owned business that makes incredible firearms right here in Indiana. Fostech, created by 2 career firefighters and 1 U.S. Air Force veteran, they create special, unique firearms. American craftsmanship meeting cutting-edge technology. Their Origin 12 shotgun is the envy of the industry, and all their products are designed, machined, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. Follow Fostech on Facebook and Instagram at Fostech_INC. Find a dealer near you or visit Fostech.com. That's Fostech. Fostech.com. Use promo code WIBC for 10% off your order.
This hour powered by Price Point Comfort Heating and Cooling, your independent American Standard Air dealer.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. President Trump makes clear the onus is on Hamas to end the war in Gaza after both sides agree, at least in part, to his peace plan.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said Israel and the U.S. intend to finish these hostage talks within days. Now, the Prime Minister also demanded that Hamas disarm and said that would be achieved by either agreeing to President Trump's peace plan or the hard way, militarily.
Fox's Rich Edson. Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker says the Pentagon notified the state that the National Guard will be federalized, at least 300 of them. This after anti-ICE protests in the Chicago suburb of Broadview.
Homeland Security says law enforcement patrolling in Broadview were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. They say officers were forced to deploy their weapons and fired shots at an armed U.S. citizen. That citizen was injured.
America's listening to Fox News.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially liked the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops. Really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
The fall season continues at Sundown Gardens. Visit the Garden Center for a large selection of locally grown mums, pumpkins, gourds, and fall decor. Now's a great time to shop and save. Happening now at Sundown Gardens, save 50% on all pottery and herbaceous perennials. The nursery is still full of a great fall selection of trees and shrubs. Save 50% on select nursery items. Sundown Gardens, located on the corner of 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield. SundownGardens.com.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. You know, we had a church shooting. It was actually last Sunday, so it was just the day after I last did the Gun Guy show, and so I wasn't able to comment on it. And it's something that strikes me in a couple different ways. One is just it's infuriating, it's maddening, it's a little scary, but it also is another example of something that makes me glad I live in Indiana. And that is that a person went to a Church of Latter-day Saints in, I believe it was Grand Blanc, Michigan. And first rammed his truck into the building and set it on fire, and then began shooting. And you have officers who responded pretty quick, but still a number of people, I believe it was 4, inside the church were killed. Another 8 were injured, whether from the fire or the truck ramming through the wall or gunfire is not apparently clear. But it was clearly a shooting, and at least some people were injured and or killed from someone shooting at people who were just at their house of worship of choice. And listen, that's the reason why I've had a number of church security teams. I'll actually just set up another one of these meetings with a local Catholic church here in the Indianapolis area, where they want some training on the laws surrounding the use of force and self-defense for their church security team, because they've decided to have an armed church security team. And I've actually done the firearms training for church security teams a number of times here in central Indiana as well. And that training is available from other sources, including folks who really have more time than I do anymore to do that. But it's fun to do, and I enjoy doing it. But for years, for a lot of years, I had people contact me who are associated with churches and say, we want to talk to you about setting up an armed church security team to keep our worshipers safe while they're here at our school. At our church. The school issue is going to come out here in just a minute. And a lot of times I have a very preliminary conversation with them and say, well, okay, there's one hurdle we need to get over, and that is there a school on the same grounds or in the same building? And listen, as I always say in my gun law class when I'm teaching it, how many Catholic churches have a parochial school on the same grounds? Pretty much all of them, right? I'm not Catholic, but that's my understanding. And licensed daycares. How many churches have a licensed daycare? Now, there are some different licensing issues around churches, and I've been educated on this a little bit more over the years. But if it's a state licensed daycare on the same grounds or in the same building, then that qualifies as a school. So if you have a school on the same grounds or in the same building, and or the church is co-owned with the school on the same land, then the church, as well as the school, is all school property. And while we've never had a statute in Indiana that says it's illegal to have a gun in a church, there is a statute that says it's illegal under most situations to have a gun in a school. And if there's a church and a school on the same property, the church is also school property, and you can't carry a gun there, even if it's Sunday and there are no kids in the school, even if the school's closed, even if the kids won't be back till Monday, it doesn't matter. It's still school property, and you can't have a gun on school property. And so what we fought for years and years, and it started with the late Senator Jack Sandlin, good guy, and we're going to miss him, and we just lost him last year. But it started with his Senate Bill 33 here 3 or 4 years ago, or 3 or 4 years before we ultimately got it passed. But then we took his, and we called it church carry. And again, a little bit of a misleading name because there's not a law that says you can't carry in a church, but it's addressing the school issue, which for hundreds and hundreds of churches, we're talking about all houses of worship here. So whether it's a mosque or a temple or a synagogue or a cathedral or church, if it's a house of worship, this all applies. And there are hundreds and hundreds where people could not lawfully carry a gun. I know of people who just decided that they valued their lives more than they were going to be worried about possibly being prosecuted. But that's a shame for anybody to have to be put in that position. And you ought to be able to defend yourself, your family, your fellow worshipers when you go to church without fear of being prosecuted for a felony. So finally, in 2019, we got church carry passed here in Indiana. What it says is now that if you're attending a worship service or a religious ceremony in a house of worship, or if you're performing your duties of employment or your volunteer duties as an employee or volunteer of a house of worship. So would that apply to a church security team? Oh, hell yes. So either you're attending a worship service or a religious ceremony in a house of worship, or you're performing your duties as a volunteer or employee of the church, the house of worship, then you can lawfully possess a gun there, irrespective of it being on school property. And that's been the law here since 2019. And listen, this is a big deal for a lot of people. It affected where my wife and I chose to go to church. You know, we decided we were going to switch churches. We started looking at other churches. We absolutely love our church now. Actually, I have to drive to Fishers from Zionsville to go to church, but it's worth it. I love our church. And if you want to contact me offline on social media and ask me what church it is, I'm glad to tell you. But in looking for a church, one of the first things we had to say before 2019, we had to inquire was, does this place have a school on the grounds? Does it have a school in the same building? Is there a license to take care of? Is it licensed by the state? And if the answer to any of those things were yes, then suddenly we're in that dilemma where, am I risking a felony every time I go to church? Because listen, not only do I carry every time I go to church, I take an extra magazine over what I usually carry. And why is this? Is that being, and gun owners are accused of this all the time. Is that because I'm scared? Is that because I'm paranoid? Does that mean I'm walking into church going, oh no, someone's going to kill me any moment? Of course not. I simply have the realization that churches are targets. And we've seen churches as targets for years and years and years. And the church at the shooting at the Church of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan, here less than a week ago, is just the latest example. You had kids attending school and going to church on the same grounds at the I'm going to screw up the name. Annunciation, I believe it was called, church in Minnesota. Kids shot through the church windows. We had 2 different church shootings where heroes emerged, one of them in White Settlement, Texas, the other one in Sutherland Springs, Texas. They were within a year or 2 of each other. And you remember the heroism of Jack Wilson, who shot a guy, came into a church sanctuary, started shooting worshipers, and Jack, from, as I recall, 15 yards away, 45 feet, made one shot, made a headshot. That's some marksmanship up there with Eli Dickin. But the point is, he had to stop a church shooting with deadly force, and was able to do so because he was armed. In Sutherland Springs, that's where a gentleman named Williford was actually in his home across the street from a church, heard the shooting going on where 20-some people lost their lives, grabbed his own rifle, got into a shootout outside the church, chased the bad guy. Bad guy ends up crashing and dying because Stephen Williford shot him. So he wasn't in the church. If he'd have been in the church and armed, or someone else would have been, very good likelihood 20-some people wouldn't have died. So carrying in church is just a realization that churches are threats, because there are people are targets and subject to threats, because there are people out there that will target your church and target you in that church simply because of how you worship and who you decide to worship and what your beliefs are. And unfortunately, there are way too many people out there who, simply because you have different beliefs than they do, want to kill you. Your children, your family, doesn't matter. Is that paranoid? Is that living in fear? Just the opposite. If I'm cooking with an open flame, do I want a fire extinguisher somewhere close? Yes. Does that mean I'm afraid to cook? No, I like to cook. I cook all the time. I really like cooking over an open flame. But it's not a bad idea to have a fire extinguisher around. A gun and a fire extinguisher I put in exactly the same category. It's simply being prepared. So another example of what makes me proud to be in Indiana, that church carry bill I fought for many years, as many other people did. And Ben Smalls, Republican from Auburn, ended up carrying it forward in 2019. It got lumped in with my self-defense immunity bill and changing our 4-year license to a 5-year license and some other pro-Second Amendment bills. We started calling that the Omnibus Gun Bill back in 2019, but we got it passed. It's now the law, and you can now lawfully protect yourself, your family, and your fellow worshipers when you go to church. And so reading a story like the shooting in Grand Blanc, Michigan, it makes me, of course, sad for those victims and compassionate toward those people who were injured or lost family members, but also makes me damn glad I live in Indiana. Right now, we're taking a break. We'll be back for a short segment to wrap up this edition of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Ryan Hendrick is with the WIBC News Department.
I found out through an inmate who uncovered and actually witnessed drug sales, extortion, and violence going on between inmates and corrections officers in an environment that he described was barbaric.
I think to the average person listening, like, how do you let the quote-unquote inmates run the asylum?
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the Law Office of Guy Relford. If you're interested in expungement or the restoration of rights, contact us through the website. Easy to do. Just go to relfordlaw.com, send us an email, or call us during the week at relfordlaw.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like business owner Brian.
Yeah, Galaxy was great. We have a business where a lot of the service techs are working out in the field, and they'll come in and they'll have even some mud or something on our shoes. So if we're having a meeting, I needed a flooring that could stand up to that, but still look good as an office setting.
Well, if you own a home or a business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings got you covered.
Galaxy was great to work around our schedule. They were able to come in on a Saturday, and the job was completed over the weekend, and we were back in business, so we didn't miss a step.
Lots of styles to choose from, 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it comes with a lifetime warranty.
It's very nice looking. It's very durable. Really makes the room stand out and shine.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com now. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We're out of this world.
Galaxy was quick to respond. They were quick to give us a solution and quick to get it completed as well. And they're going to take care of you.
Comcast Business can help turn your small business into a connected, secure, modern business. It's how retailers become constantly connecting must-visit shops. How restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How healthcare offices become the data-protecting caregivers that we all depend on. And how wealth management firms become cyber-securing guardians of your information. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, and Wi-Fi backup, your business can stay connected and get threat-ready with Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with our reliable business internet. Plus, stay connected when you add Wi-Fi backup for just $35 a month. And ask about a $400 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Call today. Restrictions apply. Wireless Connect requires business internet for additional monthly charge. Taxes and other fees extra. Prepaid card offer ends 11/16/25.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report scams, and update your software. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. Start your protection today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use promo code NEWS. Terms apply.
Head online to the contest page at WIBC.com and enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra Thursday, December 4th at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back here for a bit of a short segment, but thanks to all of our callers. We had great callers tonight with great questions. Thanks to the folks who participated in the YouTube chat, as they always do. That's always a lively conversation on there as well. It's hard to keep up with as I'm doing live radio, but I try to check it out during breaks and respond where I can. Another ruling came out this last week, which I thought was really interesting. And it's a case, if you want to look it up, now it's changed names a little bit because Pam Bondi was substituted as the Attorney General who was named in the lawsuit, but it's FPC, which stands for Firearms Policy Coalition, versus Bondi. And this is down in the Northern District of Texas. And listen, the Northern District of Texas has given us a whole bunch of rulings that have ultimately been really, really great for gun owners as they wound themselves through the system. They gave us a great ruling on bump stocks, which ended up being ultimately affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court. I left that out when I was kind of doing my little Supreme Court roundtable at the beginning. On pistol braces, and more, and they've been a great court. But they just ruled that the statute that says, the federal statute that says you cannot not have a gun in a federal facility, and then there's a regulation that expands that to a parking lot, but as applied to post offices, the statute rather that says you can't carry a gun there is unconstitutional. Now, does that apply to you? If you're a member of the Firearms Policy Coalition, and then another group that was in that is the Second Amendment Foundation, both great groups, by the way, who do great things in the courtroom, then it does. Am I carrying my gun in the courthouse anytime soon? Probably not. And let's see that work its way through and help out the rest of us. Right now, that's the end of this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back. Remember, always shoot straight, always be safe. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Some big news. Just before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning.